Hey you, how you doing? Welcome to Long Division Fridays. Don't know where I got this accent from, but I got it.
Bumper!
Today's episode is all about motion tracking. Now, for those of you who don't know what exactly motion tracking means in the form of video, essentially what it means is that you're taking every single frame of a video and you're tracking out one point or multiple points in order to use that for an effect. Now, these effects can range anywhere from special effects to practical effects, and we're going to go into detail about how each of those works. Let's start off with special effects. 9 times out of 10 when you're doing motion tracking, it's to throw some sort of effect into your video. Whether that be putting some text in your scene and having someone walk in front of it like this, or making it look like a piece of pizza is floating in your hands like this.
Zach, how the hell are you doing that?
So what we did for these clips is we brought both of them into After Effects, and then depending on whether or not we wanted to track one little piece of the scene, like in the one for holding up the piece of pizza, or if we wanted to track multiple pieces of the scene, like the guy walking in front of the text, we put that data into our tracker for After Effects. Now, I did a tutorial on how to do basic tracking in After Effects, which you can check out right here. I can't remember if I already mentioned it, but if I didn't, it's right here. So check that out. Motion tracking like this is used in all kinds of special effects. Those were just 2 quick examples, but other examples can be seen in the Avengers, in Star Wars, pretty much any action movie you see probably has quite a bit of tracking put into it. Another really popular use for motion tracking is to put in false backgrounds. Also, this is called matte painting. And we're actually going to have a pretty in-depth tutorial on matte painting coming up, so keep your eye out for that. And we might annotate it like right here when it's up, but it's going to be a little bit before that's up, but keep your eye out for it. Now I know what you're asking yourself. You're saying, hey Zach, what if I don't want to do special effects? What good is this to me? Well, I have your answer, bub, or bubette. The answer is practical effects. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times we've accidentally had, say, a boom mic in the shot, or if you could see someone's lavalier mic. You need to track those things out of your shot, and that's super easy because usually they'll stand out. For example, if you have a boom mic against a white wall, you'll be able to motion track that boom mic and then bam, cover that bad boy right up. You cover that bad boy right up. Another practical use is for digital makeup. So let's say that you have an actor that maybe has a blemish somewhere and the character's not supposed to have a blemish there for one reason or another. You can actually track that and take that out using After Effects. Alright, so now that we know what motion tracking is used for, we're going to talk about how to get an accurate motion track every single time. There are a few things to really look out for. One is super fast movement of your camera. Anytime that you get any sort of motion blur, that makes it really difficult to track onto one single point. Because what's happening is those pixels are getting blurred in between, so in one frame it could be looking for one little black dot here, and then it's trying to find that little black dot in the next frame, but that little black dot is stretched out over like, I don't know, 40 pixels? It's crazy, and it can't track it. Okay, some things can track it, but usually not. So a good way to avoid that, use a high shutter speed, and if you know you're going to be tracking, avoid fast camera movements. Another thing that can hurt your shot is if you don't have a good tracking point. So let's say you have someone walking through your scene that's wearing all black, and you're trying to track a black button on their shirt. That's not going to track. It's not going to be able to pick that out. So you have to help After Effects by getting something with a little bit more contrast in there. Or let's say that you wanted to track something onto the wall. You could even just take a small sticker and pop that bad boy right on the wall, and now you have a good track point, as long as there's good contrast. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have good contrast. Now, another thing that can really kill your track is rolling shutter. Now, if you don't know what rolling shutter is, it's an issue that happens on most digital SLRs and mirrorless cameras, where the bottom of the frame kind of moves a little bit faster than the top of the frame when you're panning, so you end up getting this kind of jello-y effect to your image. And I'll show you an example really quick. So, as you could tell, that's almost a similar thing to getting motion blur, except for it's even worse because now that pixel might be starting here and be morphing down through here, and that's just impossible to track, even for the best tracking software in the world, SuperTrack 9000, which I'm going to invent, but it won't be able to track rolling shutter, so I'm sorry. A couple of ways around this would be to perform some rolling shutter reduction on your video before you track it, but even that's not going to guarantee you results. It might help just a little bit at best. And the last thing that I'm going to say about tracking, which I kind of said before, is just to plan your shots. If you think that you're going to track something, shoot to track. It's always way easier to go in and track something that you were intending to track from the beginning than it is to go in and track something that someone just gave you some random footage that they say, hey, I want a floating pizza right here. Pizza. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode of Long Division Fridays. Make sure you check us out next time when we're going to go over how to make your own music video, and Wes is going to watch the 5-year engagement.
Stop!
You want to watch it?
No, I'm playing Mega Man.
Sorry. And thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Don't throw knives at me.